this meeting to order, and we will start
You're gonna
by
get the ball
Whack, yeah, now it's working.
listening to
Very
the public
political?
announcements.
No, I don't think so. Just,
Before we
I
begin
don't
the
like to see the
agenda,
contract
the
between
Wichita-Sedgwick
government
County
and
Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
Okay, we're going to recess the MAPC meeting and go right into the BZA. All right, and we will start with the BZA with the agenda item number 1, which is approval of the BZA minutes from November 15th, 2018.
Move we approve.
So I have a motion by Mr. McKay and a second by Mr. Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Does Mr. Dool have to abstain?
Mr. Dool will have to abstain.
Yeah. He wasn't there.
Take Mike's word for it.
Trust me on that.
They're talking about
He wasn't in attendance.
Okay,
Just for the record.
I didn't see. Moving on, let's go to agenda item number 2, BZA 2018-00062. Do I need to ask if anybody from the commission wants to hear this?
Yes.
Does anybody from the commission want to hear this case? Yes, okay, we will hear this case. Agenda item number 3, BZA 2018-00064. Is there anybody from the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
Move we approve item number 3 by consent.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Green, second by Mr. Klossmeyer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so We'll go back to agenda item number 2, and Kathy's ready to present.
Yes, good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. This is a request for a variance to reduce the side yard setback from 6 feet to 1 foot to allow a new garage structure in front of the main house and to reduce the interior side yard setback. As you can see from the aerial, the houses are in this area, particularly along the west side of Sullivan, are set back about 150 feet from the front property line. And so outlined in red is the property. And so there's some big trees right in here where I've got my cursor. And that's where they're proposing to locate the new garage structure. And you have a site plan in your package. Whew, we could put it in your house. And so here are pictures of the site, and you can see this is the existing garage, and you can see these mature trees along this property line. The applicant has spoken to the next door neighbor, and as I said, the property's set well back from the front property line, and the adjacent property owner has no issue with the variance down to 1 foot. And here again is a straight-on shot, so you would be looking at the garage being in this location from this big tree. This is going north from the site, in front of the site, across the street. A very quiet neighborhood. And so staff is recommending that the variance be granted down to 1 foot with the conditions listed in your staff report, that it's in compliance with the approved site plan, the permits obtained from the MAPC, the placement of the structure in front of the residence, or the variance will apply only to the placement of the new garage and the side setback. And then, other than that, the site shall remain in compliance with all of the other codes. So I'll answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? No? Is there anybody, oh, no, we need agent or applicant to please step forward to present on this case, and you have 10 minutes.
Would you like to have up here? Is that good?
The site plan's fine.
Site plan? There you go.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mike Kent. I am, my address is 5615 Sullivan. I live immediately south of the property. This is Dan Holloway. He is the applicant. I prepared this drawing. I apologize for some of the typos in there, but I just want to say that this neighborhood has been there a long time. Most of these houses were built long before it was in the city, and you can tell that quite a few of the structures are violate the setbacks. You know, again, I don't know when some of these were built, but they've been there for a long time, and I think this new structure keeps is consistent with the rest of the structures in the neighborhood. Certainly doesn't come out any farther to the street than many others, or many others in the neighborhood that are also garages sitting in front of the house. And so I would recommend that you approve the variance for this. and I'd answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commission?
Yes, I have questions that I don't think that there's a requirement of how close you have to be to the street. I think it's just how close you can be to the street, so the setback isn't a problem there. But mine is the side yard setback of 1 foot. It may be okay now, but down the road, when you need to do maintenance and there's a different neighbor over there that has a fence, what's gonna happen to 1 foot in there where you can't get in to do any kind of maintenance?
There is a access between, on the south side of the house, and, well, there's a little kind of a mother-in-law house over there, or labeled existing house too, that you could get, maintenance equipment through there if you had to.
You know, if the north neighbor puts up a fence on the line, you're only gonna have 1 foot between that fence and the north side of the garage. And so what's gonna be in there? Weeds or what?
I don't, you could, I guess if the neighbor did put up a fence, he had the option of dyeing the fence into the house.
He had the option, but he wouldn't have to.
Wouldn't have to. The same situation exists. Is there a mouse up here that I could?
Underneath.
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. For instance, right over here, there is a fence that exists here. This is my property over here. There's a fence that exists here, and there's a narrow space between this structure and the house. It's not very wide, but it's accessible. If you did build a fence, if somebody decided to build a fence over here, they could dye it into this and carry on. If you had to get to the back for maintenance, you could come through here.
But what if the fence was there and there were dogs in the yard and the people didn't want you in their yard? I'm just concerned about maintenance down the road in your convenience, that there could be a storm, it could need painting. So 1 foot is just not practical. I think you need at least 3 foot between the building and the fence to be able to maintain
Well,
and be
right.
neighborly to the north,
Yeah.
whoever lives there.
Right now, the existing structure here is on a foot off the property line. So the request is to build the garage to match that. So the new garage doesn't really change that situation. It just
makes it worse. We're not talking about the original house, we're talking about the new
I understand.
building, and that's what we're concerned with. We can't make you move your house. And that is a neat area. I've been down that street into garage sales and so on for a long time, and that was a way out from Wichita at one time. But do you know approximately time-wise when these houses were built?
I know my house, again, on the south side of where it was built, original house was built in 27. It was added on to in 72. I believe Dan's house, the one in question here, was built probably, I'm going to guess, in the 30s. It was built as the folks that originally owned my house, Homer Fox Electric, with Southwest Electric, built this house for his children. That's why we've got a funny property line in here, because
Yeah,
it was subdivided later on and so forth. So again, I believe this. You know when your house was built, Dan? In the 30s? Yeah.
so, yeah, it's still, the 1 foot still doesn't, it's just not practical, and you have 50 feet instead of just the edge of that, what is the house actually made of on that north side?
Wood?
So if you got a neighbor that wants to put a fence up to contain animals, then, and that neighbor doesn't want to contain them outside of, to get you in there and give you permission to go in there, then you're stuck. So it's your advantage and that I'm concerned with, and whoever the buyers are down the line 20 years from now. So that's all that I question. I just don't think 1 foot's practical.
Mr. Joe Johnson.
And does
Yes,
the
sir.
present neighbor to the north have any objection to this?
Any other,
Excuse me, yeah, he doesn't now, and it said that in the material that he didn't.
Other
yes.
question, would he be in agreement to a maintenance easement there along the garage? I mean, that would at least give you some legality to get in there later on if
I
he
don't
doesn't live
think,
there.
I don't think he would have a problem with that. He just built this, let me get this, this structure right here is a fairly new garage that he just built, oh, I don't know, about 10 years ago or whatever, and, it sets quite a ways in there from the house, so I don't think he'd have a problem with it at all. I mean, that, for him, that's not really usable property.
Might give you some protection in the future.
I,
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Foster.
I'll just throw out an idea. In older neighborhoods, the city does allow in the rear yard to go down to as tight as 3 feet on these setbacks. So, I'm not saying which way to go on it, but I am curious. Let's say you lost 2 feet in your dimension. I understood from the staff report that that would be a hardship to you in terms of what you need for that structure. Is that correct?
what we're trying to do is, there's a tree right here, and we're trying not to encroach on that tree any more than necessary. For if we get into it too much, we're going to have to take it out, and we'd like not to take it out, but I mean, 3 feet would be better than not doing the project, I guess.
Any other questions from the commission?
Yeah, I still have it. What are you gonna put in this garage?
What does that matter? It
Microphone.
doesn't matter.
Mr. Daly,
He'll-
That's not appropriate.
I don't think that's for us to decide or make decisions on whether or not what he's
Well-
gonna put in his garage.
The 2 foot then towards the tree won't hurt that much.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? Okay, if not, sir, thank you for presenting, and I will ask, is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Seeing none, we can give you 2 minutes for rebuttal.
No rebuttal needs. Move to approve per staff comment.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve. All in favor say, any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No,
Motion carries 12-1. With that, I will adjourn the BZA and we will go back to the MAPC. All right, agenda item number 1, we will need to approve the MAPC meeting minutes from November 15th, 2018.
Move for approval. Move for approval.
So I have a motion by Mr. Johnson and a second by Mr. McKay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 13-0.
Any abstentions?
Okay, on to On to agenda item number 2, consideration of subdivision committee recommendations. 2-1 is sub 2018-00033, final plat, Pike Edition. Is there anybody from the commission that would like to hear that case?
I have a question for staff on that item.
Want to go ahead and ask that question, Mr. Foster?
That'd be fine. Neil, this is more of a comment. Given the discussion at the subdivision meeting, I think it'd be appropriate to discuss the number of lots that were are proposed for this plat, and also that the solutions that staff provided. I think it'd be good for the entire commission to understand that.
Right. We'll go ahead and go through the rest of the cases and we'll come back to this one. So item 2-2, sub 2018-00039, one-step final plat for the Union Mill Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience who would like to hear this case? None, we'll take that on consent. Item 2-3, sub 2018-00040, one-step final plat, Reed's Cove Townhomes Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
Move for approval for 2-2 and 2-3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Joe Johnson and a second by Mr. Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 13-0. And we're ready.
Okay, item Neil Straw, planning staff. Item 2-1, the Pike Edition. This is located on the north side of Maple, west of 151st. Encompasses 330 lots. Which will be zoned SF5 after annexation. The issues of access came up during the subdivision meeting. Typically, staff requires connections to around the perimeter of the site. In this case, the applicant has platted a contingent street dedication to the north, to the west, and also over here to the east. City fire, and you can see there's just one point of access from the arterial, and city fire requested an emergency access at this end of this cul-de-sac right here. That will give them their required 2 points of access for the site. Other than that, the plat met the subdivision regulations, street lengths. Were addressed in item Q, where city fire was okay with the long street lengths due to the increased pavement for the cul-de-sac bulbs. And the subdivision committee recommended approval. Questions for staff?
Neil, I just want to build upon that a little bit, and at the meeting, I commended staff on their efforts, working with the applicant, because what it comes down to is you've got an unprecedented 330 lots coming out from one exit, one entrance. And staff work to, if such a time arises that there may need to be a traffic signal that the applicant would add to participate in, as well as the contingent dedications to provide access to adjacent properties. And I just think staff did a good job of making this thing practical and allowing the committee to vote positive on it. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
Got a comment.
Mr. Richardson.
for the commission's benefit, the other thing we sort of struggle with on this one at the subdivision committee was that we have an emergency access. Neil, you could point that out right there, which is a gated access. What we've learned over time is the only people that have keys to that are the fire department. EMS and police do not have keys to those. We're not sure what there's a number of issues that come up with providing keys to more than one provider. So we don't have a recommendation, I don't think, at this time, but we're a little concerned about only one point of access for EMS and police. It's possible that the fire department could come out and get them in, but it's a potential concern that we had also.
Mr. Bill Johnson.
If that became an issue, it's real easy to solve. Basically, the EMS or whoever wanted in there, they could double padlock it. Each department could have their own key. They could unlock a padlock and get in there. I'd want to keep it simple. I don't want to make a mountain out of this deal. We approved it. We'd had all that discussion, and the only other thing I want to say, in the subdivision meeting, the fire department said that they don't look at plans, and I feel like I've been discriminated against because every one of mine get looked at by the fire department.
Any other questions from the commission?
Just,
Mr. Green.
just to add to Mr. Foster's comment, I think that as the subdivision committee, we did discuss this quite extensively, and there was concern about 330 odd lots with one point of ingress, egress, and then the emergency. We, as the committee, may at our next meeting ask for some guidance and maybe some investigation by staff to look into what is logical, what makes sense for a subdivision of this size and having adequate access to the subdivision. As was noted, Neil talked about on the west side, the north side, on the east side, there are contingent street dedications, but I know that in the past, we have seen those contingent street dedications and have ignored them and gone ahead and approved adjoining plats without addressing the need for that contingent dedication to be required. So just as an FYI, we will be asking staff to look into that issue of such a large number of lots with only one point of ingress and egress. So, but we did approve it with only one abstention or one negative vote. So
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Bill Johnson, did you have another question?
On this issue.
Is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, would we like to take this item on consent?
Move to approve.
second.
Bill Johnson.
A motion, Mr. Bill Johnson? No.
They both made the motion same time, so pick one.
I wrote down Bill Johnson.
Mr. Bill Johnson seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 13-0. Yeah. All right, moving on to agenda item number 3-1, VAC 2018-00026, vacation of front yard setback for building expansion. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. Item 3.2, VAC 2018-00027, city vacation of 16-foot utility easement for building addition on property zoned LC limited commercial. Is there anybody in the commission, on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we'll take that item on consent. Item 3.3, VAC 2018-00028, city vacation of a portion of a platted building setback line on Lot 4, Block 5, Vicarage, Second Edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that item on consent. Item 3.4, VAC 2018-00029, city vacation of a portion of platted building setback along Kellogg on property zone GC. Is there anybody in the commission that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent.
I move for approval on items 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, and 3.4.
I had a motion by Mr. Blick, so I have a second by Mr. Hartman.
Sorry, I didn't say it loud enough. I apologize.
You gotta speak up, Mr. Blick.
Yes, I apologize. I'll make sure I will.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 13-0.
He doesn't talk to his kids that way.
Okay, on to agenda item number 4. Case number CON 2018-00038, county conditional use to permit recreational vehicle campground use on existing non-conforming manufactured home park. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Mr. Foster would like to hear this case. We will hear that case. Case number 5, agenda item number 5, case number CON 2018-00039, city conditional use to permit vehicle and equipment sales in limited commercial LC zoning. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Yes, we will hear that case. Agenda item number 6, CON 2018-00040, county conditional use to permit an event center in the county. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. And item number 7, they've requested a deferral to February 27th.
It's February 7th.
February 7th. Sorry about that. Agenda item number 8, case number CON 2018-00042, city conditional use to permit a daycare, general adult daycare on property zone SF5. Is there anybody from the commission that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear that case? Seeing none, we'll take that item on consent. And number 9 has been, case number CUP 2018-00046 has been deferred to December 2018 MAPC meeting. And with that, I would entertain a motion to those items on consent.
Move items 6 and 8.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Bill Johnson and a second by Mr. Green. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 13-0. And we will look to Dave to present on agenda item number 4.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Dave Earott with staff. This is conditional use case 2018-13. Request for a conditional use to allow an RV campground in an existing manufactured home park. We are on the south side of Kellogg, west of 151st Street West. The property in question is outlined in black. This is the aerial photo showing it's outlined in red. It's an old mobile home park that dates back into the 60s. Not all of the 20 acres that's owned by the applicant is improved by the manufactured home park, and The case, if approved, will be for the only the portion that actually exists as a park. So the allowing the RV campground uses would happen within the area that is the park. You can see from the land use plan in the future where this sits, and it's considered to be a new employment area on the south side of Kellogg. This is also an aerial provided by the applicant. I think this probably is intended to give you kind of some idea of how the internal infrastructure within the park was laid out to accommodate the park when it was built back in the 60s. Another aerial provided by the applicant. We've got some pictures of some of the units within the park, and this particular one gives you an idea of, we have some old manufactured homes that are within this park. Some of them are at the point where they are not habitable, and the applicant is here and was talking to him specifically about that, and they're in the process of trying to get some of these things removed and taken out, which and the situation he's got is very common for people that have facilities like this, in that, you know, and I don't know that it is the case here, but we have situations where the original owners have abandoned the structure. Under Kansas law, they're titled like a vehicle. And so the ability to go in and do things with them, even though the applicant owns the ground on which it sits, he may not have title to the structure, and getting that cleared and being able to remove is a legal hassle that often gets into the way. It's also a reason why, and I don't know if we'll have a discussion about that with the county. It came up at the CAB meeting on Monday night with Chairman Dennis about that very issue, about why the county doesn't go and do that. Well, the county didn't have the same laws the city does to abate and clean up issues like this, but when you get manufactured homes involved, it gets even messier. So the intent is to clear out spaces within the park. Here you can see we have a place within the park that had been vacated and is presently occupied by a manufacturer or recreational vehicle. There's other photos. Here's where you have an individual actually storing a small camper beside their home. Here's another lot internally within the park where you have an RV in a space, and that's the intent of what we're talking about doing here. Here's someone's actually got a motorhome, which is classified as an RV, same situation. Other interior shots within the park. Looking south from Kellogg, this is Kellogg. This is the main entrance into the existing park. Other interior shots that you can see in various locations around the park. I shot along Kellogg. I won't go through all these. If you've been out there, you know what Kellogg looks like. So this is the fourth one of our existing parks within the county that have been approached by the owners, asking to be able to provide the ability to place RVs within the park. They do go through the process to modify the utility hookups, because there are differences between how you hook up a recreational vehicle as opposed to what you do with a manufactured home. We're aware that previously codes had been issuing electrical permits for some of this stuff to occur, unaware that the current zoning regulations didn't allow that. That's kind of how we got to where we have dealt with a number of these over the past year. Recommendation is for approval, consistent with what we've done in other parks. There is another park, the Regency Mobile Home Park, which is west of this location. We did the same thing for the Penn Air facility south of Oaklawn. And then there was another park off of MacArthur on the east side of the river that we have also done. So we're not looking at necessarily doing anything different or new. This is consistent with what we've done with the older existing parks within the unincorporated part of the county. And with that, I'll stand for any questions you may have. Same conditions recommended as what we've done previously.
Dave, we're the staff recommendation is to only allow this in the area that's now developed, is that right?
Yeah.
You might point that out again.
Yes, the
Even though
intent is to cover only the portion of the park that is, we're not talking about an expansion of the park.
Right.
We're only dealing with the area where the internal infrastructure covers areas that are occupied by older mobile homes or where they have empty spaces. And as they clear other ones out, they want to be able to make that available for
Just
RVs.
a question along that line. Had we approved this by consent, are the staff comments always assumed to be part of that consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Foster?
Dave, what size are the lots that would be available to put the RVs on?
I don't know that we've got a hard dimension provided. The applicant may be able to talk about that, but historically, these things are, the lots themselves are running roughly 60 feet in depth. They're going to be 20 to 25 feet wide as the individual spaces. And that becomes the issue that, the infrastructure was built for a park layout back in the 50s when you rarely ever saw individually manufactured homes going larger than 50, 55 feet. And today's modern single wides that go up to 85 feet long won't fit in here. And the infrastructure doesn't meet it and the lot sizes don't meet it. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these types of things looking at being remodified to accommodate today's recreational vehicles, which are in many cases bigger than the mobile homes were back in the day.
Any other questions from the commission? If not, if we could have agent or applicant, please step forward, and you have 10 minutes. If you would provide your name and address as well.
I really have nothing to say that he hasn't already said, so.
Can you give me your name and?
My name's Robert Glass. I live at 6127 Bella Road in Wichita. My father built this park back in the 60s, so we're just trying to get it so it's profitable to keep, so.
Any questions from the commission? Mr. Foster?
Sir, it says here in the staff report that water is provided privately. Is that a reliable water source? Water service?
It's the city of Goddard.
It's public source, not a private well.
It's not on a private well, no. It was originally when it was first built, but that's changed over the years.
Other questions from the commission? Mr. Foster?
Second question is, in your consideration of layout, did you have any thought to separate our recreational vehicles versus the manufactured home structures for the aesthetics of the layout there?
I have no plans to do that, no, sir.
Thank you.
Questions from the commission? Thank you. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to present on this case? Speak on this case? Yes. Sir, if you will step forward and provide your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Dan Lindstead. Live at 13802 West Ridge Point, Wichita. My wife and I own the little property that is right here on the very southeast corner of that brown section, the first green slot there.
The mouse down here will move.
Okay.
They can't see you.
Yeah. Well, we're right there. That's where we own a property, and we're considering perhaps moving our retirement home there or selling it. And I guess what I'm concerned with now is there an absolute guarantee that that will not expand beyond the present perimeter that's shown?
The current application wouldn't allow that, but that doesn't mean that if the thing became successful, that
future.
they could come back and ask for additional zoning and expand to their ownership. But
Okay,
at this point, this application would not permit that.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Any questions from the commission? Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak on this case? If not, we'll bring it back to agent or applicant for rebuttal. Like to make a rebuttal? No? Okay, then I will bring it back to the commission for action.
I'd move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Joe Johnson, a second by Mr. Hartman. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so the motion carries 12-1. Got it? All right. Moving on to moving on to case number CON 2018-00039, and it looks like Kathy is going to present on that case for us.
Yes, this is a request for a conditional use to allow vehicle sales at the location you see on the zoning map. They currently have an existing business of vehicle repair at that location. The property is 3 blocks west of South Broadway on the south side of Harry Street. It is located within the South Central Plan, and I gave you a map of that plan to show you. Staff is recommending denial of this because the approved South Central Plan recommends that this area be mixed-use commercial, and that additional used car lots are not a desirable activity in the South Central neighborhood. I will say that we had the DAB meeting last night, and the DAB members and the audience discussed this, and they did support allowing the conditional use for the used car lot based on the recommendations that were made in the staff report, or the requirements made in the staff report should the Planning Commission decide to approve it. There are a set of conditions in there that would govern the conditional use for the used car sales. So this is the site as it currently is. This lot to the west looks like it's grass, but it's got a bad asphalt job, and the grass just grew through. So at some point, the owners are going to resurface that and allow more parking. The vehicle repair does occur inside the building. They are going to put up a pipe rail to separate the cars from the sidewalk. That has been some issue in the past, not necessarily with this occupant, but in the past. He does have a site plan. We've recommended that if you decide to approve this, that they submit a new site plan to scale to indicate where customer parking would be and what spaces would be allotted to car sales. This is looking east in front of the site along Harry. There's the new Harry Street carpet sales building that has really done a lot for that area to clean it up. Here again, this was taken before several weeks ago, and there was some vehicles out there. That situation is no longer existing. This is looking south at the site. There is a residential structure on the south property, just south of the property. That is zoned general commercial, and there is an existing fence back there that will be maintained. This is looking back southwest at the site. They have access to the lot off Wichita and then also onto Harry. This is a residence northeast of the site. This is looking on the north side of Harry Street, looking west. There are some tire sales shops. There are a couple of vehicle repair shops in this area, but there are no used auto shops, used car, what do I want to say? Used car businesses in this stretch between Broadway and McLean. So with that, I will answer any questions.
Got some questions.
Questions from the commission. Mr. Richardson.
A couple of questions, Kathy. This is part of the South Central Neighborhood Plan, and we've discussed this before with regards to car lots. Number one, who are the advocates and the keepers of this plan? Is that the District Advisory Board? Is there a separate board for the South Central Neighborhood?
The South Central Neighborhood does have an active neighborhood association, and they have provided the input on that South Central plan, and do watch. They have a representative that serves on the District Advisory Board, and that plan, as I'm understanding it, is soon to be revised, or they're talking about requesting it get revised.
Just started working to revise that plan.
So that was part of the discussion, that there were neighbors, and like I said, one of the DAB members is a representative of the neighborhood association, and they felt like the current tenant there had done a good job about keeping up the property, and it wasn't causing any problems, and the used car sales locations are going to be one of the discussion items for the South Central Neighborhood revamp.
And that was really my second question. As we look at these sort of difficult cases, I'm a little miffed as to why we singled out used car sales, which are frankly a pretty passive operation compared to tire shops and repair shops and those kinds of things. And, you know, maybe it's not so much what it is, but how it's done.
Right.
And I would encourage you in the plan to look at ways to mitigate whatever the, whatever the impacts of this that they think are detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it'd be helpful to us because the staff doesn't really have a choice except a recommend denial when
That's
the plan
correct.
says no used car lots, but I guess maybe trying to figure out what it is about the car lots, which are in some cases more passive uses, it seems to me, than some of the other things that are there. So I was just curious about the rationale, but if we're going to revise this, then go ahead. Dale, you have
Well, historically, the policies with respect to car sales have been to try and keep them along Kellogg or the main thoroughfares where they already exist, going back to Marvin Kraut. And there was a definite attitude, even under city manager Churches, about minimizing where these can go because of what you described is that we used to not have any codes about pennants and putting vehicles up on mounted things and doing all kinds of flags and stuff to bring attention. The code has a number of supplemental use regs that try and address those things to make them more palatable.
Okay.
And so we've gone back and forth. I remember Ron Marnell at one point thought that vehicle sales was a neighborhood type sales activity and that there ought to be car lots in neighborhoods so that they can not have to travel. So
be easy to buy a car.
The opinion ranged the whole gamut.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the commission? Foster.
Kathy, it's going to dig into your memory deep here, but the last time we looked at a very similar case, The concept that came from the commission was the highest use for that particular site was a used car sales lot. And I was not able to make it to the meeting where the final decision was made, but what was learned from that particular case, because there was a lot of discussion about how do you go about improving the site, and there were architectural things that were going to be done. How did that case get handled?
That is beyond my memory. Maybe Mr. Richardson.
Has some information he can share.
My memory on that was an ex-Quick Trip, and Quick Trip puts deed restrictions on these properties so that they're basically not good for anything but an office building, or in some cases not even a restaurant. But I'm not sure what the details of this were, but they restrict it so much, and the owner had been trying for a year or two to get somebody to go in there that met those restrictions, and they're almost impossible. Quick Trip, I understand why they do it. In that case, it probably didn't make any sense because they didn't build a new one across the street like they often do. But that was the case there. Was just really wasn't much else you could do except put an office building in there, and that didn't seem to work. It was because an old Quick Trip building with lots of parking space out front that was already paved. That was at Mount Vernon and Broadway is where that one was.
I understood that the architect was going to bring back some revisions and do some improvements to make this more acceptable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, if agent or applicant would please come forward.
Rex, you want to?
State your name and address, and you have 10 minutes to present.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rex Bello. I am the tenant at a 301 West Harry address. I have my own personal, I live on the west side, which is on 9256 West 21st Street, 21st and Tyler. I've been at this location renting from this amazing human being here, Mr. Bond. He's just been a fantastic person. And that's the number one reason why I personally didn't want to leave the location, because you don't find good people to rent from that often. So I've been there for about 4 years now. We've been doing vehicle repairs for the most part. And it was just thinking about growth and what I can do to improve my business. And car sales was number one on my list. But the area was not zoned, so that's basically the reason why I'm here today. Now, coming from yesterday's meeting, she did an excellent job, obviously, for all the presentations she already made. What we're just trying to do is the number one thing that me and Mr. Bunt talked about was to let you know that what we're trying to do, based on history of advertisements, the nuisance that the car lots usually are to the neighborhood, a lot has improved in this current time because advertisement, most of it are done online to avoid a bunch of balloons and distractions that you have in the neighborhood. So we absolutely are not trying to be involved in that practice of having balloons and all those things, spotlights, to be a distraction. As it is shown on the screen right now is exactly what we're trying to represent, to clean up the neighborhood, to the site, to put demarcations between the sidewalks so that way, pedestrians can move safely. And obviously on the west, is that east or west? That's west, right? On the west side where the overgrown grass we're trying to actually put new asphalt and hopefully do it right this time. So that way we can have just a few more space for parking. And yes, I did draw the previous plan. That was not to scale, but I did the best that I could just to show representation. But I think the very best is what you have here. We have to the east of us, which that is the, what is that? The Harry Street carpet. They did a great job, of beautiful improvement. And we're just trying to be at least as clean as they are and as just good to our neighbors. So far, 4 years, we have not had any complaints, at least from our neighbors. I have all the numbers of my neighbors. They have mine to let me know if they have any problems. So far, so good. And we're just hoping that for the best. Based on yesterday's decision, I hope we have the same here today. Thank you.
Sir, Ms. Bello, in our staff report here, it says that should the planning commission go for approval, there are 8 items, conditions that they want to put on that. Have you seen those conditions?
Yes, sir.
And you're in agreement with those conditions?
100%.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McKay, did you have a question? Oh, you were just pointing to Mr. Warren.
No, that was my question.
Oh, that was your question, okay. Any other questions from the commission? Mr.
I
Bill
just got a
Johnson.
comment, but I don't have it. for
Okay,
this.
okay, you can make a comment. You want to make
I'm
it?
very familiar with this neighborhood. We had the privilege of building the Harry Street Carpet Project. This was a company that was been in business since, I think, the 50s. The present owner actually was born and lived in the back of the house of the store. He acquired a bunch of homes up and down Wichita Street and Water, paid lots of money for them, and I mean, they were not desirable tenants or desirable neighborhood. Paid a lot of money. He could have went outskirts of Wichita and bought a whole lot more ground for a whole lot less money, but he wanted to stay in this area because it had been Harry Street Carpet and he wanted to stay in the same location. So he did a lot of drastic improvements. I just want to state, I was down there a lot because we had the thing under construction, done it in 2 or 3 phases to keep them in operation. This particular building across to the street to the west, every time I was ever down there, I felt like it was probably one of the neatest buildings in that area because there's some that I don't find as appealing. So I do hope, and the owner of Harry Street Carpet hoped when he spent a lot of money that some other people would step up and get better businesses and a clean operation along that street.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions from the commission? Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak on this case? Okay, Mr. Blick.
Just make a statement, like was mentioned earlier. We approved within about a mile and a half of this location, a car lot, I think it was this year or last year, at Mount Vernon Broadway. And this area with new commercial, like you're saying, Harry Street, that's going in, and they're trying to improve that area. I'd be in support of this also. I think it's great that businesses are now starting to grow back in that area where there's a lot of urban decay, and now they're starting to come back, and I think it's a benefit.
Warren.
Move to approve,
Second.
including conditions 1 through 8 of the staff report.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Warren, a second by Mr. Dool. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. Motion carries 11-1. And I think with that, we are adjourned.
This is all.